What up, y'all? It's your boy Quest, and this is your marriage moment. Let's go. It's spring again, everybody. Now I'm just playing, y'all. Shouts out to Bismarcky, man. Yeah, and shouts out to this wonderful weather, man. Spring is definitely in the air. Yeah, y'all know I'm a hip hop enthusiast, so yeah. Shouts out to Bismarcky for the joint. It's spring again. Yeah, y'all already know what this is, man. Welcome to another edition of Marriage Moments. It's your boy Quest. For those of you who don't know me, let me just put this disclaimer on today. Y'all know me. Y'all know I'm an advocate for marriages. Not necessarily an advocate for men or women, but I am an advocate for marriages. So let me put this disclaimer on it. I'm not being chauvinistic in any way, shape, or form when I'm about to express what I'm about to express today. But I do understand that there is her truth, his truth, and the truth. And I want to get to the truth. And what I realize about us sometimes is that because we are so comfortable in our truth, right? Sometimes our truth doesn't necessarily line up with the truth. And when you're faced with the truth, yeah, it can be uncomfortable. It can be painful sometimes, and it can make you angry. But if it does, it will help you grow on the tail end. And I think hopefully today, that's what I want to do. Help a couple people grow. Shouts out to my boy, Chris Crumpler and Shannon Austin and Tim Morris and Demetrius Flowers, man. A couple of my accountability partners. We had such a wonderful conversation. I promise y'all, I had intended to go a whole nother direction, but I think I need to revisit this again because I think that there are some relationships that are suffering for the lack of this topic of love and respect as it relates to vulnerability, right? Now, let's not get it twisted. When a woman needs love, she gonna let you know she needs love. And if she ain't getting it, it may be hurtful. And regardless, men, you gonna know she needs it, right? But I feel sometimes that there is this gray area, if you will, or this area that we don't touch too much. And I think, gentlemen, it relates to our inability to be vulnerable while we suffer the way that we do sometimes. And we suffer in silence, right? I know that we've been raised to not whine about things and not to cry. And when things don't go the way that we should, expected them to go, to man up, you know what I'm saying? And get it done, right? But what does that do? It bottles up our emotions and it bottles up who we are. And because of that, when you keep bottling and bottling and bottling, that builds up pressure. And you know what pressure does? It busts pipes, busts bottles, and truth be told, it'll bust your top. And so it manifests itself or remanifests itself in a number of different things. And we've spoken about this before, but I'm saying to you men today, you need to be a little bit vulnerable as it relates to your wives. I feel that there are some of us who are experiencing a certain level of disrespect as it relates, and not because we're not. So let me just say this, not because you are not filling your wife's love tank. And ladies, don't become offended, but this is something that men deal with. Now, we'll deal with the ladies on another, but I'm telling you that the love and the respect are interdependent upon one another. We know that already. If a woman feels unloved, right, she'll respond disrespectfully. If a man is feeling disrespected, he'll react unlovingly, right? So let's just take that piece off the table. We know that in order to receive love, you got to be respectful. You know that in order to get respect, you got to love, because the two are interdependent. Marriage relationship is a mutual relationship, right? Hopefully excelling and one day exceeding and getting to the point of agape, right? But for the most part, it's mutual. And we were having this discussion today about what happens when her love tank is on full. You're having the discussions that you need to have to connect with her emotionally. But there's certain instances, whether it be from her upbringing, expectations that she has for you, right? But it generates a level of disrespect. And I'm saying that, like, for real, those are the times that you need to be vulnerable and make it known who you are and what you feel. Because here's the funny thing. The dictionary defines vulnerability as it means susceptible to personal or emotional attack, right? And that's what most men believe vulnerability is. But that's not the true and full fullness of what vulnerability is. Vulnerability is being able outside of that. So let me just say this first. Most men, what they do is they put up this shield because of what their definition is, which lines up with the formal definition of vulnerability, susceptible to personal or physical or emotional attack, right? That's what their definition is. And they line up their definition of vulnerability with that. And so they hold up this shield, and we've been taught from little, don't cry, man up, don't whine. So all of those things are resident in us. Here's the funny thing though. When we're disrespected, we take on that same thing. Oh yeah, you just take it on the chin and you roll with the punches. And I'm telling you that in those instances, you need to be vulnerable. What is the fullness of vulnerability? Being able to express what you're feeling, how you're feeling, right? And the effect that it has on you, right? So in other words, when you're being disrespected, especially if your wife comes from a place where there were no men in the home, so she hasn't had a relationship or a proper relationship with a man, and now she's in a lifelong commitment with you, and she doesn't know how to communicate with you, those are the times where you need to be vulnerable and express, okay, what you're doing, you've been doing for a minute, it hurts, it's disrespectful, and you need to stop, right? And I'm not saying be real aggressive with it. I'm saying say it in love, because remember, we want to talk to them the same way we want them to talk to us, right? The word declares, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So you want to make sure that you're expressing that in love, right? And ladies, when he tells you that, like for real, know that he's expressing his feelings to you. Now, here's the funny thing. You got a decision to make now, ladies. You can either come out the bag on him and get defensive, right? Or you can acknowledge it as his feelings the same way you want him to acknowledge your feelings and respond accordingly. Because here's the funny thing with men and vulnerability. If we're being vulnerable with you and you don't create the environment because of how we've been taught as to how vulnerability works, if you don't create the environment for him to be vulnerable with you, it will happen once, it may happen twice, but after that third time, it'll be a long time before he gets vulnerable with you again. And here's the funny thing. You want him to be vulnerable with you because that's what you want in terms of connection. Why? Because you need an emotional connection. So I'm saying this week, guys, for real, if you're suffering in silence and if there's something that you're dealing with in disrespect, number one, make sure that your wife's love tank is always on full. Make sure that you are connecting with them emotionally. But if you're connecting with them emotionally and their love tank is on full and you're still experiencing disrespect, then you need to be vulnerable and you need to voice what you're feeling. I am hurt, it's disrespectful, and I'm going to ask that you stop. Because here's the thing, if you continue to do this, it's going to be a rough road ahead of us, and we don't want that. So y'all know what I always say, from shaky to good, from good to great, ultimately what we want is phenomenal. But as you can see, phenomenal don't just happen. It requires something from you. And what it requires is work. So let's work, ladies, on respecting our husbands, and men, making sure that our wives' love tanks are on full. Come on, guys. You can do this. I know that it requires work. I know that it requires a certain level of discipline. And sometimes it requires even God to come down in your relationship. Like, remember what Paul said, I must decrease so that he can increase. Y'all already know. Let's make the rest of our marriage the best of our marriage. What up, y'all? It's your boy Quest, man. If you like the information in this video and you know somebody might be able to use it, do me a favor. Comment in the section below, like, and more importantly, subscribe. If you want to connect with me on Instagram, my link's over to the right. All right? Peace.